to have you here.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, really looking forward to the conversation today. And I know on your website you describe yourself as a mindfulness coach and mentor. I think there's so much more to what you do, and we'll unpack a lot of that shortly. But for people listening today, how would you give us the 1 minute intro, if you like? Describe yourself to our audience and what it is that you do.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the intro. So I've been meditating for about 20 years, right? With lots of success. And in today's world of distraction, I'm seeing that the power to focus and point that attention is so incredibly important these days. So I'm really focused on building that up for clients.
Yeah.
And also getting rid of those limiting beliefs that can hold you back from experiencing your full potential.
Yeah.
So really leading clients from that state of anxiety, stress, more into states of joy.
And what kind of clients do you work with? What kind of people come to you looking to resolve that anxiety or find focus or growth or whatever it may be that leads them to you?
Well, the funny part is I have been, over the past 12 years, mainly working with female entrepreneurs. And that was more in a dual function. So both branding and design and mentoring as well.
Okay.
Yet since formally going after my certifications, and this has really widened the scope. So people that are looking for peak performance, looking for that edge. It could even be moms that are facing, overwhelm.
Yeah.
And or dads even, or anyone that's not performing at their best, and they're looking for a way to figure it out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Since they have the stress, the anxiety, and modern medicine isn't really giving them the cures to things. They're just working with the symptoms. So yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. No, and I think, so much of the modern environment and, social media, phones, apps, they are deliberately engineered in a way that keeps you on there, but does not keep you focused, right? The TikTok videos, a few seconds here, a few seconds there, next one, right? It's all very distracting and kind of anxiety producing almost, isn't it?
You bet. Yeah, and how I see it is that there's really a war on mastery going on, and it's being fought with distraction. And in this new information age where we have access to almost anything under the sun, it's really important how we spend our new currency, which is attention.
Yeah.
Right? That's our real fortune in this life, and everybody has a whole ton of it every day. So there are different tools and practices and methodologies and strategies that can really help you strengthen that muscle. So yeah.
Yeah, no, interesting. And I think if you look at online media companies of all types, they talk about the attention economy, right? As in, your attention is their product that they are selling to advertisers. And I think a lot of people don't fully get that and what the implications of that are.
Right. It's funny because when you look at your phone and you open an app, there's actually like a few hundred people behind there that have engineered it in such a way so that it is quite addictive, and you come back, right? So that's the real the real struggle, the real conflict, balancing that attention with the needs that you want from that application. So yeah. Also, today's culture is really gearing towards that we stay on top of everything, right?
Yeah.
We have to have the latest news from China or Malaysia or right around the States. I need to know what everybody's doing and,
Yeah.
what's the latest thing. And that is one of those distraction tactics. Because from my perspective, we're not really meant to stay on top of everything. We're meant to get to the bottom of things, right? That's the real deep work. That's where the mastery is. And it can only be done through deep work and concentrated focus, like that laser focus. So yeah,
That's interesting. I think that depth is interesting, right? I think you're right. I think that there is so much kind of shallow breadth to the information that a lot of people consume. I think there's two elements to focus, aren't there? There's the focus in terms of lack of distraction by that breadth of information, but there's also then the picking one thing to go deep on, isn't there?
Right. There's the two fundamentals that are needed for that focus, and that's willpower and discipline. And it's funny, there are no classes for that in elementary school, in primary school, in high school. They don't teach it. Yet those are some of the main factors that it's really important to have a hold on, right? And build up strength, because it's the willpower that can stop you from doing the thing that, well, let's say, is your kryptonite. Right? Right. And actually having awareness around what that thing is that you give into, right? So having the discipline to say no, having that willpower and awareness around it, and then spending time, like you said, doing the deep work, right? Being distraction free. That's really what I'm mainly focused on these days. So I've recently, I'm in a testing phase of a first group of one-on-one clients. With a program that's called the Mental Gym. And so this is all about becoming indistractable, right? Creating that laser focus so you can leave that world of distraction and inattention behind. In a world that's asking for more of it. Right?
Yes, indeed.
Right. Yeah, there's a reason why it's called paying attention, because that's the new currency.
Yeah, no, I love that, absolutely. And I think you're right that no one is taught this, right? It's not a skill or set of practice or techniques that we are ever taught going through school or whatever it may be, right? The school system is very much engineered, around the whole exam method of assessment and progression. And it is, again, quite an intense process if you think about it, but then you are pushed into that world of work. And I think there's, so many things that can kind of come at you then, and you're not necessarily equipped with those mental tools that you talk about.
Yeah, it looks like to me that formal education is based on memorization.
Yeah.
And that there's not much growth there, right? Because it's just learning what is, and it's someone else's story. And it's not how I fit into it. How can I integrate this? So, yeah, and it's funny because when I was younger, my father is third degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Okay, wow.
Right. And so when I was young, my older brother and I, and we're real close, only like 16 months apart. And we had martial arts when I was real young. So discipline was always there because you
Yeah,
stand in a certain way and you had to understand the movements and not move and squirm and
yeah.
talk out of turn and that kind of thing, and be really there and have that attention. So that's one way that discipline can be learned when you're younger, right?
Yeah,
They don't take a lot of crap either.
yeah.
Know what I mean? Uh, yeah, so that's one thing that can really work on building that fundamental when you're young, right? Exercise and martial arts, discipline, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of fundamentals that aren't taught in school either that are key to peak performance and igniting that infinite potential. And I work with 7 of them.
Okay.
Right? These core fundamentals. And they're eat, move, sleep, breathe, focus, celebrate, and prosper.
Okay.
Right? So all of those really affect how we perform and how we live. Right? So if you're not sleeping well, then of course your day's not going to go well. And if you're putting in lots of incredibly processed foods, well, that's not going to give you the energy that you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Energy right in the beginning.
Mm.
And the exercise as well, right? With moving, but then also breathing. That is so incredibly important and one of the most overlooked practices there is. Because with food and water, you can go days and weeks without. Yeah, with breathing, I think you can go about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's it. So yeah, one of the big, let's say, valuable takeaways that I could provide right now is just a focus on nose breathing. And like never breathing out of your mouth again, ever.
Wow.
Right? The funny little way to remember it is that we're only meant to breathe out of our mouths as much as we eat through our noses. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
And why is that? What makes the mouth breathing bad or the nose breathing good or both?
well, let's see. The nose is designed for breathing, right? And also it has a filtration system, right? Those are all the nose hairs.
Yeah.
Right? And so you've got those that catch a lot of the debris that's in the air that the mouth does not have. The mouth is really designed for speaking and eating.
Yeah.
Right? Hence all the teeth and the tongue.
Yeah.
But we use it for breathing as well. And what happens is when you breathe out of your mouth, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, which is in charge of fight or flight and flee. And we don't want to be activating that one at all. We're meant to be using the nose for breathing. And when you do that, you turn off the sympathetic and you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the one that is in charge of calm and peace and just relaxing. Right?
Yeah.
So, that is one of the fundamental tricks for, let's say, biohacking the system, right?
Yeah.
The body system. So whenever you're running or whenever you find yourself just sitting there with your mouth open, it's like close it. just close it, right?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I think, there's a lot of people kind of talking about the power and the importance of the way you breathe. Yet I think that for most people, clearly everybody breathes, right? Or at least most people that are alive. You don't, as you say, you can't go too long without it, right?
Right.
So, but I think a lot of people don't pay attention to it and don't realize how shallow their breathing can be for so much of the time, right?
Right. Yeah, and also breathing through one of the most, let's say, unused and underused muscles in the body is the diaphragm. So when we breathe, we're not really meant to be moving the chest. We're meant to be moving the belly, right?
Yeah.
In and out. And that is really deep breathing that can calm the nervous system, which is great for alleviating stress and anxiety. And yeah, I've done lots of research and study on breath work. And one of the first books that I read is called Breathe.
Right.
And this book, I got halfway through and I just put it down and I was like, okay, I'm done. Right. It was enough.
Yeah.
Just to know that, no, I'm not going to do that ever again. So, yeah. And when I was in the Himalayas for my meditation teacher certification, I spent 3 weeks meditating above the clouds for like 10 hours a day. It was quite wild, right? Right after the 20 years of meditation, I go, okay, well, let's just get certification. They were talking about the breath, right? And it only takes about 3 days to reset your system from mouth breathing to nose breathing. So it's a really quick process that just with a simple awareness throughout the day, close my mouth, breathe through my nose, right? Over a 3-day process, then you can create that habit.
Yeah, interesting.
It's almost like instant manifestation. I mean, it's really fast. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm now feeling very self-conscious in the way that I'm breathing, and I'm sure everyone listening or watching this will be as well. But no, it's super, super interesting. And yeah, also that kind of meditation certification, as you describe it, after 20 years of meditating, that sounds pretty full on. Like, tell me about that experience. What was that like?
Well, let's see. So I had about 6-7 months in Southeast Asia in my 20s. I think I was 26. Yeah, and I was working on a kid's book, my second kid's book. It was all about travel, right? So the funny part is that I would research an area and figure out the best UNESCO places that kids would be really interested in, and then create travel activities around it. So I was traveling around the 9 different countries of Southeast Asia for about 7 months. And right when I dropped into Bangkok, I was, how do you say, I encountered all the pagodas and the monks, and it's like, this is just real life over here. It was a totally different world. So I wanted to know more, right? Because I'm walking around the big pagodas and the temples, and man, it's Buddha everywhere. This is fantastic. And so I sat down with some monks over that 9-month period and really just started a meditation practice. So from there, like a daily practice. And so let's say the big take from it was to develop a place inside yourself that is free of all the different limiting beliefs, all the different identities, that has no thought, and where you can connect with something bigger than yourself. Right? So it's like this universal consciousness space. And how I like to describe it is, well, there is a stream of consciousness, and it looks like a stream, and there's lots of different waves, and each thought is a part of those waves. Well, I just do my best to get in between the thoughts, right? Into the stillness that's between those thoughts. So yeah, over the course of 20 years, I've had quite some wild experiences with expansion, and even was able to reach the state of Ananda, which is the state of absolute bliss. It's like on the way to full enlightenment, right? It's when I was in the Himalayas, it really, I really understood what that was, what that experience was, because it was absolutely wild. There was like a sun in my belly, and the whole, like, my energy was way out here, and I was just laughing and crying for about an hour and a half.
Wow.
It was absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Right? And so I did some Googling in the moment, and I found out, oh, okay, this is what's called a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. So in layman's terms, let's say in normal words, I awakened the soul. And so I was like, okay, right? It's those two snakes that are at the bottom of the spine that go like this, and you go from alpha to omega, and oh boy, watch out. So
Yeah.
So that was some pretty wild experiences along the way. Yet once I went back home to Michigan, was it a couple years ago? Yeah. I had met up with about 30, 40 of my elementary, junior high, high school, university friends, and they were all telling me the same story, right? They've got issues with stress, anxiety, and we can't sleep.
Yeah.
And that was the running theme, which was so odd for me, because I've known for 20 years, well, meditation's the answer for that, right? It's just deep breathing through the belly and relaxing the body, no thoughts, right? And so that was a major disconnect, that they were all telling me about the same story. We're good with the money, we're good with the family, but we all have this major issue. So I go, okay, well, I'm going to do some master classes around those three topics. And so here are the solutions for, and then also going for my meditation teacher certification, right? And then I got the opportunity of those 3 weeks in Dharamshala, right, above it. And it was in monsoon season, which was wild, because when you walk out on the balcony, all you see is white everywhere. So it's like the entire visual was gone, right? You're just like, there's my hotel room or my guest room, and then there's just white. So yeah, and then the rains were pretty wild too. So you're sitting there trying to meditate, and then this like just storm just hits the metal roofs, and it's like deafening sound. But,
I bet that must make it pretty intense.
Yeah, and also how high you are in the mountains as well. You have to acclimate, and so some pretty wild stuff were going on with the group. Body stuff.
And for anyone listening to this that is experiencing those things that you kind of found when you went back, with those other people with stress, anxiety, kind of switching off, that ability to switch off. You've been practicing meditation for, as you say, kind of 20-year journey, and got to some pretty deep levels there as well, as you described. But for anyone listening, kind of thinking about getting into it, or maybe starting to get into it, like, how far do you need to go to get some kind of benefit and more control over your thoughts, and a bit more calmness to your thoughts?
Right. Yeah. The benefits of meditation. So let's see. Doing meditation for 15 minutes will give you instant results that night, because you'll be able to fall asleep 15 minutes earlier, right? It's like an instant reward.
Yeah.
So that, along with the increased focus and concentration that can come along with it. There are many studies now that are really matching, or let's say confirming, all of the ancient wisdom around meditation. So there are studies around the emotional, being able to regulate your emotions better, right? More resilience. And of course, that sleep quality goes up. Your immune system is also strengthened as well. And so you get overall better health and well-being and life satisfaction as well. So it doesn't have to be some big exercise for enlightenment, right? It's just a simple daily practice that you can do for 1 minute, 60 seconds. The simplest form is simply doing one breath. And we can do one breath meditation right now. It's really simple. Just plant your feet on the ground, right? Get really still, close your eyes, and breathe through your nose for 4 seconds into that diaphragm, right? Extending the belly out. And then breathe out through the nose for 4 seconds. And then slowly open your eyes. And that will reactivate the parasympathetic nervous system and turn down any of the sympathetic that's on. So right there, you can start sending your brain different messages about what chemicals it needs to be sending out to the body. So we're turning off adrenaline and cortisol, and we're turning on oxytocin, that serotonin, the dopamine, all those good, happy chemicals that we really put in the body with. So, and it's so simple. And it's in those moments that are the most stressful and full of anxiety that all we have to do is take one breath, right? In between stimulus and response, right? So we make some space, and that's all meditation does. So, and it's like a muscle. So you're not going to be able to be totally ripped, let's say, with a 6-pack abs from doing one sit-up.
Yeah.
But you can reap the benefits tonight with 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, I think this is where your concept of that mental gym, I think, makes a lot of sense, right? Because as you say, like, you wouldn't expect immediate physical results. So the same thing is true for mental results, right?
Right. Yeah. Having a daily practice around some of those core fundamentals is really key, right? So I have a formula that I've developed for both my morning and my evening bookends, right? And these are just practices that I do every day, right? They're like personal algorithms that I run every morning and every evening, because really that's the most control that we have usually from our day, is what we do in the mornings and the evenings, because usually during the day there's some kind of obligation or thing that we have to do, or activities, that kind of thing. So just by setting up habits on autopilot that we do, and we run, we wake up, and having that if then, right, algorithm. So let's say if I wake up, then I meditate, and then I'll do yoga, and then I'll go out for a walk, right? And then I'll work out, and then I'll have some water, and then I can get to work. So really, it's like a practice that it's not something that, let's say, I always want to do. yet it's something that I've committed 100% to. So I don't need to think about, oh, am I going to do this morning? No, it's just something that
Yes.
I do, right? It's like Einstein. He thought it was energy best spent on other things than to think about what he wore. So
Yep.
he had 10 or 15 of the same outfit in his closet, and when he woke up, he didn't spend any energy on it, any mental, what am I going to wear today? Right?
Yep.
Those are my clothes, and I have more important things to think about. So let's, right, spend our energy wisely and that attention, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, in the morning, I do my best for about an hour and a half to really build up my energy so that I can perform well throughout the day for everyone else. And then at
Yep.
the end of the day, once things are done, then it's time to really start unplugging and getting less inputs, right? Because usually it's time for entertainment, right? I've done really well at work, and I felt really productive today, and so now it's time for entertainment, right?
Yep.
What do I get from? What's my treat?
Yeah.
So yeah, that can keep us plugged in, and then lots of blue light with all these devices glaring at us, and then we're not producing that melatonin that's needed for sleep naturally. And so, yeah, the funny thing is that when I went back and talked to a lot of my friends, they were all telling me, okay, well, I can't sleep. So I'm either drugging myself to sleep or, taking medicine for the anxiety as well. And so, like, if we're always on and we haven't gotten strong with being off, right, unplugged,
Yeah.
then when you go to bed, your mind is trained to be on, so it wants to keep working. We've got to,
Yeah, absolutely.
right, have that balance. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think there's a tendency to want to be like always on 100% for as long as possible, and then flip a switch and be completely off. Right? It's either 0% or 100%, and almost nothing in between, and no transition from one to the other as well, I think.
right. Yeah, and if there are issues with sleeping, it could be because we've only trained up that on the go mind, and not trained the relaxing part of the mind, right? So going outside, getting that sunlight, getting on your circadian rhythm, really tuned in with when it's dark, it's time to go to bed. When it's light, it's time to get up, start moving, and having the really good physical activities to really burn through a lot of that energy to really use it, right? Having the exercise.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's said that exercise is best in the morning. It can really work well for you in the morning because you can get up to a 12-hour mood boost. And so we want to be using that throughout the day, that normal boost of energy, because when we exercise, let's say later in the day, we're not going to be able to utilize that energy. We're just going to go to sleep with it. And then also it can be harder to sleep because your body's really ramped up from working out.
Yeah.
Right. Your heartbeat is elevated and that type of thing. So yeah, having daily practices that we just run, even if we don't want to, is important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I've had a lot of people talk about the thing you've described of when I do this, then I do that. That habit stacking, as some people call it, combining of habits makes it a lot easier for people to adhere to those practices, and it becomes automatic. It's like, oh, when I make my morning coffee, then I do this, or when I do that, then I do that after. And it can make it so much easier to build that in. And as you say, there's no mental effort to, oh, when am I going to try and fit that in? Can I fit it in here? And then that's kind of a high stress thing, isn't it? Fitting it in and then feeling guilty if you don't. But if you combine it, then that can just be, that's what I do at that time of day, or when I do that.
Right. Yeah, it makes it easier to integrate and start new habits when you combine them with already set in, like an ingrained habits already. So when I brush my teeth, I do a mantra, right? I say my mantra, right. So combining things. And when you're starting those new habits, it's really important to make them as easy and as simple as possible, right? Because then it's, and then celebrating those tiny little wins, right? So from the books that I've read, what was it, like Tiny Habits and Mini Habits, Atomic Habits, right?
Yeah.
They're all talking about really tiny acts that will start the habit in motion so that you develop momentum and you compound over time. So if I want to run every day, the first thing to start that habit is just to put on my shoes and walk out the door. And that's enough. Done.
Yep.
Celebrate. Yes. Right. And really get those good, happy chemicals coming out of the brain, right? From celebration. I'm a runner. And then you can get inside and you're done. And the next day you can walk, let's say 20 paces. Right. And then, right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Over time, let's say, after a week of actually, making space, putting on my shoes, getting my gear on, walking outside, now I'm going around the block, right? And the thing is, when you start something, right, in motion, it tends to stay in motion. That's the physics of it all, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that starting motion that's most important. So we want to make that easy and tiny. Let's say, if you want to do 100 push-ups, which is, I do 100 push-ups a day, and it's before 10:30 in the morning. And all you have to do is do one. And then tomorrow do two, right?
Yeah.
The act of actually getting up out of your seat and, moving and then doing the one push-up. When you're in motion, you tend to stay in motion. So before you know it, it's like, well, I did one, let me do three, right? How many can I do right now? And then, oops, I did 20. My bad, right?
Yeah.
Right? Celebrate it, right? So yeah, habits are really incredibly important to have the right ones running. And then to know which ones are, like I said before, our kryptonite, right? The ones that get us off track. So I really like to define, well, for the clients and myself, what is my keystone habit and what is my kryptonite, right?
Yep.
So if I was to, let's say, delete, like understand what that kryptonite is and just delete it or even lessen it, my life is going to increase dramatically. So I want to get awareness around that, like a lot, and then make it difficult to do. And like an easy, a new habit, we want to have it easy and simple. And so for the kryptonite, we want to make it hard and difficult to do, right?
Yeah. Do you have an example of that in practice? What does that look like?
Right. So for me, I understand that my kryptonite is, how can I say it? Late night TV, right?
Yep.
And so there is a certain time and it's like 8:30, it's done. That's it. And when I go past that, it's like, okay, it needs work. I'm going to close it, right? Because the TV shows are built to be addictive as well, with cliffhangers that make you want to binge. Right?
Yeah, the Netflix starting in next episode in 10, 9, 8. Oh, where's the remote? Oh, it started. I better watch it.
Right. So let's say putting a timer on the computer, like, or let's say if it is your phone, right? I want to be distraction free. I want to get a deep work session for an hour and a half, no distractions. Then I'll put the phone in airplane mode and put it in a different room.
Yep.
So I make it difficult for myself, and I have to actually go and break my commitment to this deep work session to go and do something. And usually along the lines of, let's say the thought comes in and I entertain it and I get up and I open the door, I walk out, I find the thing, I pull the drawer, right? I turn it on. Like usually somewhere in there, the commitment is going to kick in. So I make it difficult. I make it far away, right? So, right. Even if the mind wants to, it's like we don't have to give in to that. We don't need to entertain the things that aren't supporting us to develop our mastery.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that has got to come down to kind of empowering yourself to make more conscious decisions and acting with more intent, because I think a lot of these systems and tools and devices and apps and everything else, like you say, is very much designed, to be as addictive and be as easy to use as possible, as engaging as possible, and you can completely see why, and that can be a very, very good thing and a useful thing as well. But I think it's acting with intent so that you are consciously deciding why you are engaging, how you are engaging, what you want to achieve, really, and have some direction to that as well, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Having the intention and the awareness as well around what am I getting from this? Like, how is this supporting me? Like if I do need to relax and let's say 6-7 o'clock, done working, like I'm going to unplug and then I'm spending like an hour and a half to chill out. And then after that, it's like, let's go outside or something, right? In that hour and a half, what am I actually plugging into? Like, how is that supporting me to chill out? Right? I want to put something that is entertaining that I can relax with into that space. So now I'm choosing consciously instead of just opening the Netflix and, this is the new thing. Oh man, I've got to watch it. And then, there's the next one too. And then I watch 3 movies in a row. And it's like, oops, right? So there is this concept called digital minimalism. And it's really based around the concept that the tools are amazing, yet we're meant to take breaks from deep work and deep love and deep living into technology, not the other way around. So taking breaks from technology into deep work, right? Because they're tools. The danger is if we become the tool for technology. And that's what we don't want to get into. And that is the big addiction factor as well, because then we're paying all that attention out. So
absolutely. It comes back to where we started of attention and, whose attention is it?
Right.
Who is in control of your attention? Is it you or not?
Right. Yeah. It's the same with, when I was younger, I did some gaming back and forth. I had the first Atari, and then we had the first Nintendo, and my buddies had the Sega. And, we were playing Pong as kids with the right, really dating the red button on the joystick, right? It's very, very long time ago. Yet the games have become so sophisticated now. It's just 3D, and now they're going virtual as well, and it's like full on that the draw to go into those spaces has never been greater. So our strength and willpower and discipline to use it with intention needs to match that level, right? So
no, absolutely. That was really, really interesting, and thank you for sharing some of that. I think there's many other things we could talk. I could certainly talk for many hours now, but I think
you bet.
What we've talked about is a really given us a good insight into like your approach, the way that you work with people, the importance of attention and intent, and as well as some really kind of useful things for people to start looking into in terms of the way they breathe and how they pay attention So no, thank you for sharing that. But in terms of what you are working towards now, kind of what is your area of growth next? What does that look like? What are you paying attention to at the moment and intending to move forward with?
Well, let's see. I have a really solid system that's running. And so at the moment, let's say just for about a week or a couple weeks, I have been opening that up to clients, right? Starting this new mental gym program.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a look at all those different 7 fundamentals and be giving those practices to clients for, let's say, a 2-month period.
Okay.
And so we get one-on-one calls and every week. And then in those calls, we're figuring out where they are in these certain areas and then giving them practices that are customized towards their situation. And then over time, we're building them up and up and up.
Yeah.
So that is in its first test round. And so I'm running it for the next couple months and with the intention of getting enough great feedback that I can put out a full-on program for the public, right? That could be let's say the mastery program.
Yeah.
And that would be a video program that I would teach once and have it available online, like a subscription-based, inexpensive. So the barrier is quite low.
Yeah.
And then when people move through that course, then we can connect in a community, because that is really the way that I've found over my 20 years of meditation. It's so much easier in a group. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, everything is like different keeping habits, that kind of thing. So building each other up and working with each other through that program, through that process together is incredibly important. And that would be part of that program as well. And then having a once a week group call with the entire group that's available, right?
Yeah.
So the program, the community, and the group calls. So they still get access to me, and
Yeah.
I get direct access to them. Because what I've found so far in my coaching, let's say my formal coaching practice and the mentoring for the 12 years with the female entrepreneurs, is that there's a lot of similar questions that come up over time. And so by answering it for one, it can really support a ton of different people. So
Absolutely.
there's more impact and there's more value that can be easily given through answering.
Yeah.
So,
No, absolutely. I'm a firm believer in the power of that. And I think people
groups
might incorrectly assume that, oh, surely one-to-one is better in a group, but it's the opposite is true, because you hear the questions you haven't yet encountered or asked yourself. So when they do come up for yourself, you've heard these things discussed as well. And like you say, you answer it for one, and you can draw on other people's experience and insight as well. So there's definitely that multiplier that happens in a group of people going through the same journey together, I think.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that is the roadmap, right? From the 1.0, the mental gym, into the mastery program that I'm working on at the moment. And yeah, it feels like it can have a real big impact on how we live our lives and to better our lives, and for the next generations as well. Because these practices are based in the latest science and being confirmed as well by the ancient wisdom from around the planet. So the both of them are finally agreeing openly that all of these things really work. And the funny part is that each exercise can be really quite simple and be like, oh, I may know that already. I've Googled that or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yet it's the compound effect like I have that morning algorithm running in the morning.
Yeah.
Like it's not just let's say a 15-minute meditation. It's the compound of, okay, I'm working with the mind, then the body outside in the elements, right? And then taking a cold shower to really wake up, like shock the body, getting those proteins out, and then putting in like a half a liter of water, just boom, right? Reactivating the body, right? 'Cause we're a lot water. We're made up of a lot of water, so it's important to have refills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
No, amazing. It sounds really, really exciting. Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time to be launching something like that. So I certainly wish you all the best. And, look, hopefully we can have another conversation, see how that's going as well. And for anyone listening, I'll make sure we leave links to your website where people can find out more. Fantastic website. Lots of resources on there for anyone interested in learning more about what we've been talking about today. So thank you very much for sharing your journey and taking the time today.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks so much for having me. It's fantastic.
That'd be great to have you.